Hello, I'm Gail Royster, President of the Rotary Club of Hudson. Rotary International is a 100-year-old organization of 1.2 million business and professional leaders in more than 200 countries, providing humanitarian service, building goodwill, and peace in the world. The Rotary Club of Hudson, formed in 1930, is a group of men and women who support the international mission, but who are also joined together by a common interest in service to our own Hudson community. A sincere desire to give back. Our primary focus is on local activities such as student scholarships, the service learning class at Hudson High, Hudson Community First, Hudson Community Service, and Boy Scout Troop 321, to name just a few. In addition, Rotarians volunteer their services for such activities as Santa on the Green, Salvation Army's Red Kettle, Relay for Life, Hudson Bandstand, Art on the Green, Bob's Bikes, which is a program that we created and is unique to our club, the four-way speech contest, and many, many others. You might have heard of the four-way test, which is followed by Rotarians worldwide in their business and professional lives. It has been translated into more than 100 languages. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? You are about to watch excerpts from one of our recent meetings. Please enjoy.
Good morning, Rotarians. Good morning. This is a great day. Ron, thanks so much. You're really doing a good job getting everybody lined up. And our esteemed secretary, Chris Barker, introduce any visitors we may have.
Good morning, Rotarians.
Good morning.
Today we have a guest, and Duncan Tanner III is joining us, so if everyone would please give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for Rotary Jeopardy? Come on, gotta be awake now. This is your prize. Okay, are you listening up? I give you the clue. You come back to me with a question. This Rotarian loves the Cleveland Orchestra and Cleveland Playhouse, but don't be fooled. He would surely yell, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead."
It's one of those two guys. You got to decide. He said who is first.
I think we need to have two prizes there. Now, we have fabulous greeters out there today. Bobby Cramp and Ed Sogan. Hey. He still thinks he's the coach. And then our AV crew of Larry. This is his last week for quite a while. Inky. Ron always helps us tear down. And cinematographer, James Field. So thank you very much. And that kind of segues me into a cry for help. We need people to help set up and or tear down and help James. Just get a hold of me via email and we can talk about it. But it's something that we've developed, it's evolved, and after a while people kind of get tired of, and they migrate into other things, so we need some more help there. Give me a holler. Ed Sogan.
A couple of things that are coming up. We'll have our 10th annual Taste of Hudson at the end of the month on the 31st and the 1st of the official dates. But we have set up and we have people that help us with cleanup. So I'll have a sign-up sheet. This year, in honor of the 10th, we will have another concert on Saturday evening. So that will be at the Wine and Beer Garden, and again, make plans to attend because, again, they have some very good entertainment at this particular event. A couple other things that are happening on the 13th, which is a Saturday at 4 p.m., there will be the ribbon cutting for the Malson Athletic Center. Unfortunately, Dick Malson passed away, but Barbara and her family will be in attendance, and we're going to be cutting the ribbon to open that facility. Those are locker rooms, training rooms, a Hall of Fame room, and a community room that will be housed in that particular facility. At 5 o'clock, we're going to have Family Fun Night at the stadium. That's our second annual, and that's basically geared toward young families in town. And again, last year was our first one. We had a great time with that. On the 15th, we're going to have a golf outing. Magnum Energy Solutions, which is a company in town, is sponsoring a golf outing at the Country Club of Hudson, and it will be to benefit Dante Lavelli, a hometown hero. We are putting in an area at the stadium to honor him and his career as a high school athlete, as an Ohio State football player on a national championship team in 1942, an Army veteran during World War II, and Battle of the Bulge survivor, and obviously, again, a Hall of Famer. So we are looking forward to that. The proceeds will go toward building an area to honor him at Memorial Stadium. The following weekend, the 19th and 20th, will be the Hall of Fame weekend. It's our homecoming weekend at the high school, and there is a breakfast to honor the inductees on Saturday morning, the 20th. So a lot of stuff happening in September. We look forward to people helping at the Taste of Hudson. One of the things that our crew likes to do, Bob Cramp, great job with the express sales. And you stand out there, and it's a lot of fun. You're greeting people and selling those tickets, and they go like wildfire. So we'll look forward to having that sign up and getting that underway at the end of the month. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Oh, Bob Cramp, do you want to say anything about Art on the Green?
Yeah. I have a piece of bacon in my mouth. Real quick, we do have Art on the Green coming up. It is 2 weeks away. So do remember, if you've forgotten your time when you signed up for, I do have a copy of it. I can see me afterwards and I can refresh your memory. We do need 2 more people. So if somebody has not signed up, there are 2 spots available. One on Saturday and one on Sunday. So I hope looking forward to the event, and if you have any questions, give me a call. Thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Dexter James, golf outing.
I want to thank Greg Tolman and Donna, Jimmy Suffin for going to the Indians game. My family and I went there too. It was a great time. Met a lot of different Rotarians throughout some other organizations. Some folks in Cleveland, some folks down in Akron. It was a really great time. For the guys, excuse me, for you guys who didn't go, you really missed out. We only have 7 people signed up for the golf outing. I can't do a golf outing with 7 people signed up. So unless we get somewhere in the neighborhood of 30, I'm going to have to cancel it. So here's the deal. I need you guys to sign up this week because I have to get a number into him of at least 30 by the end of this week, or we're not going to be able to have it. So I'm going to stay out here a little bit later. Just come by, give me your name, tell me if you're going to play or if another person's going to play, or even if you're just going to come to the reception afterwards. Just give me your name, I'll write you down, and then hopefully we can get up to 30 folks and we can keep the golf outing on our schedule.
What's the date again?
It's the 28th. The 28th of August. It's a Thursday, yeah. Any other questions? And then lastly, we're going to have, the Taste of Hudson's already been mentioned. We're going to have a race to the taste I don't know if any of you have done that last year, but it's a 1 mile family fun walk and then a 5K race afterwards. It was a lot of fun last year. My family did that as well. I would like to see a lot of you guys come down and do that with us for the Race to the Taste of Hudson, which is on that Monday, the 1st, September 1st.
Thanks, Dexter. Craig Tallman has a foundation minutes.
Morning, Rotarians. Thank you, President stand-in Tom, for the introduction there. Quick 2-minute discussion I want to share with you this morning. And before I get there, Dexter, thank you for your help on that baseball game. Those things are not as easy as they sound to do. Behind the scenes, lots of work has to be done, so thank you for your help in that regard. But I wanted to let everybody know that the foundation is moving forward, and we've got a lot of exciting things that we're working on. And to do so, and really to help the trustees accomplish what we do throughout the year, there are several of us in this room that step up to the plate as volunteers and or in appointed roles that come in to help the foundation as well in different capacities. And today, I'd like to single those people out and recognize them for helping us out this year and this new year coming up. Den Rich. Den Rich is the club representative to the foundation this year, representing the club board, and we appreciate his leadership. He's a voting member on the foundation this year. Coming back again is Jim Young. And Jim, I think you're over there behind George. Jim is going to help us out on the grants committee this year. Joe Rusnick has stepped forward and volunteered his skill sets to help us out with the investment committee. Dick Pearsall has also stepped forward and he's going to help us out in our revenue development committee, which was formerly known as the planned giving committee. And Tom Tobin is also going to help us on the revenue development committee as well. And just in the last couple of weeks, some really neat things are happening already. Larry has been very busy getting administratively everything in order, but Den and Larry are already working with Gail, I believe your people at your office, to put our paper system of submitting grants into an electronic format that can be done through a link on our website and keep everything, you know, moving forward electronically and be able to store the information electronically too. So I really appreciate everybody's efforts coming together. We got a great year. We got some big tasks ahead of us, but I know we're up for it and accomplishing those for the fiscal year. Thank you very much.
Oh, Inky, where are you? You got to do the happy birthday stuff. As they always say in golf, while we're young.
Well, Allison, our fearless leader, suggested that we recognize people when they have joined Rotary. So today, we want to recognize George Snyder, who joined Rotary in August of 2006, and his sponsor, Bill Woldridge. And then going way back, Joe Z. Joe's, where did you join Rotary? What city?
Fairfield, Connecticut.
Fairfield, Connecticut, 50 years ago. And he transferred to our club last August of 2013. And that's it.
All right, keep up with Jimmy. 5-minute Rotarian, Chris Barker. This will be fun.
Good morning again.
Good morning.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in northeastern Ohio. I spent my earliest years in Mentor, Ohio, and then, throughout middle school and high school, I lived in Madison. It's beautiful kind of country. I don't know if you're familiar with the area. And then after that, purchased my first home in Fairport Harbor. It's a quaint little town next to Painesville near Mentor, and I had a house close to the lake. And something interesting, there was a Hudson-Fairport connection. One of the things I loved about my street was the fact that we had bricks. You know, there'd be bricks, then where they had to do some work, there'd be some pavement. And over the years, as they worked on the roads, they would, you know, get rid of the bricks. Well, they ended up selling them to Hudson. So on First and Main, those nice bricks that you see, they may have come from the street that I lived on in Fairport Harbor. Okay, in fact, it's a funny story how we came to move to Hudson, because all I've really known is Lake County. And before I even had kids, my kids are 18 and 20, a family member had passed away, and they had about 5 different houses. They had their country house on Walters Road in Hudson. And so we were like, you know what, let's make an investment. Let's buy this house. We got it for next to nothing. It was in the middle of a field, and there were no roads, like the Ashbrooks and Westbrooks were not there. So we'd basically pay our real estate taxes. You didn't even have to worry about mowing the lawn because we were in the country. So 15 years later, you know, now that we have kids, we're like, okay, actually it wasn't 15 years later. Some years later, we decided we need to start fixing up the house, you know, sell it. Well, when I turned onto Walters Road, I really thought I was at the wrong place, because there's Ashbrook, Westbrook, and it's no longer the country. So we kind of, you know, snuck on in and, you know, bought the house at the right time. And when when we finally finished fixing it up, it was literally the week before my oldest daughter started kindergarten. And so we thought, you know, Hudson has such a fabulous school system, and where we lived, they really did not have a good school system, so we moved. So that's how we came to Hudson. And as far as my education, I went to Bowling Green. I got a Bachelor of Arts in Vocal Performance. During most of my younger years, I was very involved in the arts. I loved doing musical theater, and I played the piano. So I knew that my passion really was the singing. So I studied opera, vocal performance, did things like that in college. But I also loved the accounting, the math, business, things like that. So my junior year, I thought, you know, I probably should change my major, but I didn't, because I'm so close to getting a degree. So I took some business courses on the side. I went to the Blythe School of Banking, you know, just a handful of years ago. But right out of college, I started working as a teller for Ameritrust. Then I worked in Public Square at Women's Federal Savings Bank in their loan servicing department. Then I went to good old Bank One. Basically, it would seem like I would leave a bank and they would be sold. So, you know, I always timed it right. So I was at Women's Federal Savings Bank, left for Bank One, Women's Federal got sold. I was at Bank One, I left after I had my second child, and then it got sold to Charter One. And then I kind of took about half a year off, thinking, let me raise my 2 daughters. And I really missed working as much as I loved being home with the kids. So we moved to Hudson, and I figured, let's find a part-time job. And then it ended up being Morgan Bank. Now, when I started there, all they had was a teller opening. So I worked 12 hours a week. It was wonderful. So I'd work 12 hours a week, and then eventually, you know, I kind of got bored doing the teller stuff. So I got trained in pretty much every area of the bank. I ended up starting a deposit operations department, so I managed that. And a few years later, I started managing loan operations, worked with their vendors. You know, I pretty much wore a lot of hats operationally. I could do everything in the back office. Then we were bought by Lorraine National Bank in 2007. And at that point, it was, you know how you have that time in your life when you're like, man, I devoted so much time to work, and now the bank's being bought. You know how your whole career flashes before you, and you start to wonder, man, those 70-hour weeks, were they worth it? Well, the good thing is, thank God it was, you know, because all that I knew in the back office is why I actually was able to maintain a job with Morgan Bank, Lorraine National Bank. And at that point, they said, Chris, what do you want to do? And I knew I didn't want to work in Lorraine. You know, I'm here in Hudson, my family's here in Hudson, my kids were still, you know, in school. So what I did was project management for a few years, and then 6 years ago I accepted the branch manager's position. So I really enjoy being a part of Morgan Bank. I've been there for 14 years now. And the reason I really love being in a smaller bank, because I've been in the bigger ones, is the time that I get to spend with my customers. I realize that all of us banks, we have pretty much the same products and services, but the only thing that sets us apart is really our relationships that we build with our customers. So I'm really proud of the fabulous job that we've done, you know, at Morgan Bank. And then as far as my time here at the Rotary, I've been a member for, about a year and a half. Jim Kanapka introduced me to the group. And I was so pleasantly surprised when I came to the first meeting that I looked out and I'm like, I know a lot of these people. And a lot of them are, my customers that I really enjoy talking to. And I've worked with Kelly Brennan at Morgan Bank. So it was really nice to see that I knew a lot of people. Now, what I liked about this organization that is different from other groups that I've visited is usually, you're sitting down with a bunch of people and it's about, what can you do for me? Who can you refer to me? And what I like is that that's not what we're about. It's more about what can we do for the community. So I'm so proud to be a member. And quite often, I'll wear my little Rotary pin. And, especially when younger people are in my office, they'll ask me, what is that pin? And I'll tell them, well, I'm a member of the Hudson Rotary. And quite often, people have no idea what the Rotary is and what we represent. So then I tell them about, the annual gala and what we do, the beneficiaries, and then even about Fines Day and how we are donating our money to good causes. And there's a definite interest, but I think that a lot of people don't know what we're about. And it's my explanation to them, what we do. That's the reason I wanted to become a Rotarian. So thank you.
Now we know where we have substitute singer when Dick's on vacation. Oh, yeah. Okay, now we got the Duncan Tanner Show. Yes, we're going to have a little Rotary tidbit.
Good morning, fellow history buffs. Good morning. There we go. Today, Rotary takes to the skies. The February 23rd, 1944 Akron Beacon Journal reported that Captain Robert Herscher, an Air Force bomber pilot and veteran of some 30 missions, was the guest speaker at the Rotary Club of Hudson's regular meeting. Herscher, a local boy whose father was a Rotarian, shared stories of the durability and efficiency of his aircraft, the Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. Originally built in the 1930s as a cargo plane, the B-17 was refitted to serve as a bomber in World War II. Nicknamed the Flying Fortress for its ability to withstand damage from fighters, the B-17 was flown by American and British pilots to bomb German installations. It cruised at 187 knots, had a maximum speed of 287 knots, and was able to fly at high altitudes to avoid anti-aircraft fire. Because it had to lose altitude and fly in a straight line to actually drop bombs, the Flying Fortress would first pick up P-17 Mustang escorts, which would keep enemy fighters off the aircraft long enough to drop its payload. The B-17 was so well built that the German Air Force, upon capturing a grounded aircraft, would actually refurbish it and fly it as their own. The legend of the B-17 was so prevalent that it appeared in a number of Hollywood films starring many of Tinseltown's leading men. For example, 12 O'Clock High, Gregory Peck and Dean Jagger. The War Lover, Steve McQueen and Robert Wagner. Test Pilot and Command Decision, starring Ohio's own Clark Gable. Tora, 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 Jason Robards, Martin Balsam. Memphis Belle, Matthew Modine, and Eric Stoltz. Probably the most famous B-17 pilot, however, was iconic movie star Jimmy Stewart. Stewart always loved flying and actually earned his pilot's license in 1938. Volunteering for service right after Pearl Harbor, Stewart was at first turned down for failing the physical. While he was 6'3", Stewart only weighed 138 pounds and was therefore 5 pounds too light to qualify to be a pilot. Undaunted, he returns home, eats everything in sight, takes the physical again, and passes it with 1 ounce to spare. It should be noted that Jimmy Stewart did not fly what combat pilots called milk runs. Those were considered easy missions. He logged 30 combat missions bombing Germany's most important and well-defended cities. Stewart retired from the Air Force as a full colonel, and for his service received both the Distinguished Service Medal and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And if that's not enough, Jimmy Stewart was later named an honorary Rotarian in his hometown of Indiana, Pennsylvania. Next week, Rotary, Tennessee, and monkeys. Thank you.
Get your dollars out. The fine master is here.
Dollars. Oh. Alrighty. Mr. Fields, at your leisure, cue the music.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see.
We're good.
The name.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow members, it is that time. Open your purses. Get your wallets out. Cash only. Be patient with me. As you know, this is my first Fine Meister presentation. I will do my best to be thorough, brutal, and effective. Remember last week we introduced the 3 categories of potential faux pas. The first, and this is a big one, I can't believe I did that. But before we begin, understand that dollars raised today will go to Pausability's Humane Society of Summit County. So folks, this is for the doggies and the kitties. Dig deep. I can't believe I did that. Ed Sogan, Liz Ramsey, John Archer, and Alliston Feaster at Dexter's July 5th party. That's a fine of $1 each for consuming free food and playing with free balloons and crowding in the front, blocking the view of the kids of the free magic show. We have it on film. Is John Archer here? Okay. I will step away from the microphone, but not from the camera. Who am I right now? I am John Archer actually playing in the bouncy house with young boys and girls staring incredulously as he went up and down. So John, that's another $2. Thank you. The dogs and kitties, thank you. Carl Withers, is Carl here? Carl? No? Okay. On Wednesday, June 25th, our regular meeting was canceled because we had the annual installation dinner that night. So everybody took the morning off except our dear Carl, who showed up and inquired where everybody was and then checked his calendar several times. Undaunted, Carl stayed, I'm told, for at least 15 to 20 minutes, inquired about the nature of the breakfast. Carl, wherever you are, that's $2. Jimmy, nice t-shirt. No, I'm not fining you for the t-shirt, sir. Jimmy, you've been around for a while. You're fairly familiar with the membership, correct, sir? Do you know who Jeff Tong is? Okay, is Jeff here? No? When you do see Jeff, please extend your sincerest apology. Because, Jimmy, on the July 2nd meeting, you were standing here at the podium and claimed that Jeff wasn't in the audience when, in fact, he was. Yeah. Jimmy, $2. Oh, and there she is right there. Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, just so you know that the long arm of the law extends back as well, I will fine myself $2 for the following. At the annual installation dinner, when our president-elect Alliston Feaster stepped up to the microphone and said proudly, "Who will make a difference?" Everybody in the audience, except for one person, said, "We will make a difference." Duncan Tanner said, "I will make a difference." Okay, that's $2 to me and one less beer at the next function. Another $1 to myself. I'm sorry? Oh, this isn't a credit situation? Yeah, cash only. All right. All right. You guys know I'm a poor single father, right? I know you. No, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. And another $1, which I will get to you ASAP, Chris, because you'll notice my son and I are dressed like two identical dorks. My apology, we'll try not to do that again. Yeah, that's on you. All right. Rich Warfield. No? Oh, that's unfortunate. Rich, obviously emotional and therefore distracted in light of his last day as our club's fearless leader, Rich had to be reminded at the annual dinner to recognize Sergeant-at-Arms Ron Strobel and mentor Gail Royster. That's $1 each, Rich, $2. Is somebody recording this so we know who to get? Oh, very good. Yeah. Okay. Technology. Ron, would you stand up? Why are you wearing an armband?
I was frightened last week.
Ron, nobody else is wearing an armband. That's $1. Thank you, sir. And you thought you had me. He's been looking for that thing for 3 weeks. Found it in his back pocket. Or so I'm told. Thank you, Ron. Oh, Ben, you got to stand up. Yeah. This is painful. Raise your hand if you play golf. Sunday, July 15th, Dateline, Fox Den Golf Course. Ben gets his second hole-in-one. Second. Exactly 2 more than your Feinmeister. Because most golfers in the room have not even come close, we're looking at $4, Ben. Okay? Yeah. And Ben, please stay standing. You thought that maybe you and your lovely bride could take a cruise in the local lake on a boat and not be noticed? Yeah. That's another $1 for being on a boat in the middle of a weekday on a beautiful day when most of us were at the office. Yeah. Ben, do you want me to, oh, it was in New Jersey. Okay, that's another $1. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ben, can I email you with the total, or are you going to be able to handle this? You may sit down, sir. Thank you very much. I like a man who takes his lumps like a man. Now, second category. Oops, I forgot. Missing pins and badges. Would the lady and gentlemen of the bad boy table all stand? Lady and gentlemen, I am a magnanimous sort, and as such, I will allow you to police yourself, but I'm going to guess there's a missing pin or 2 over there. Please turn, look at each other, be brutal, be honest. Yours is broke, okay. Well, that's another $1 for whining about the $1 you just paid. I believe I did mention that at the last meeting. Whining will cost you. Okay, Kelly, you need change for a 50, brother? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I will try to be a little more diligent on pins and badges in the future. It's a little difficult to police those as I stare at your right. Okay. And finally, my favorite category, publicity hounds. Gail? Gail Royster? No Gail Royster?
Oh, she's here. She's here.
Where is she?
She's here. She's hiding.
Hi, Gail. You may stay elevated. Thank you. Okay. Gail, how does one get quoted 6 times in a single article? That's amazing. Do you own the paper? Do you write the articles? Okay, you may sit. Gail, that's 6 quotes in the July edition of Hudson Life referencing the safety town. That will be $1 per quote. That's $6. Thank you, ma'am. Where's our collectress? There she is. Thank you. Now, we're going to let Gail off the hook, but apparently June and July were big months for Gail's picture, because on June 29th in the Hub Times, she appeared with Lauren King in a home and garden article, but I think $6 is reasonable. You're so well. We don't. Oh. And we'll talk about the democratic process later. Yeah. Jimmy, you may stay seated this time. Love the t-shirt. Also in the July Hudson Life, Jimmy is pictured with wife Louise in the Talk of the Town section. Fortunately, Louise is far easier to see than Jimmy. However, we did find him. $2, Jimmy. Jimmy, what are you up to now? $8? We got him? Outstanding. Larry Santon. Larry, you know I love you. You brought me into the club. Can't thank you enough. Are you comfortable? Yeah, here we go. Pictured with the attractive Lori Gillen in the June 19th Currents article regarding the Cleveland Orchestra. Paired with the compelling Miss Gillen, Larry is beaming widely at the camera. Interestingly, Miss Gillen is not. $2, Lawrence. Thank you, sir. Dick Pearsall. Okay. All right. It's a grand old flag. It's a high-flying flag. Oh, Dick. Dick, no fine. Dick, you appeared in the June 4th Akron Beacon Journal article about mending hearts, the wonderful work you do with people that have had heart surgery. No fine. Well done, sir. And finally, Ron. Phil, are you here, Phil Tobin?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hi, Phil. How are you? Okay. All right. Lot of money? His money or foundation money? Just kidding, Phil. Yeah. Okay, all yours. Okay. Ron and Phil pictured in the Look Who's on Vacation section of the June 18th Hub Times. Who's on vacation? Well, apparently Phil and Ron were. That's $2 each because I wasn't on vacation on June 18th. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up the fine section. However, does anybody have happy news that they would care to share? Ron is happy. He just got a part-time job cutting grass to pay the fines. Go ahead, Ron.
This is so happy that I do need the speaker. If all goes well, in 8 days, my wife and I will be married 50 years.
Wow.
I have a second piece of very happy news. Saturday morning, very early in the morning, our youngest daughter gave birth to a 2-pound baby at 26 weeks. The baby is doing wonderfully. She got to hold her yesterday for the first time for 20 minutes. And both of them are doing fine, but the baby is progressing very well, and everything looks really good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you. Anybody else? Any happy news, please? No more happy news? Ladies and gentlemen, the dogs and cats, thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. And now, our program speaker and our August speaker chairperson, Donna Kastner.
Good morning. Yes, I was speaker chair and I was trying to fill slots and I went, I don't know, I'll pick myself. So here I am. Because I thought, I do talks out there in the industry on trade show and conference trends. I thought it might be an interesting topic to dig into here, so hence today's presentation. And so I will introduce myself. I'm a wife, a mom, and of course a Rotarian. I'm a transplanted New Yorker, and this is the slide I use. I call it Cleveland, Julius Hudson. I'm a University of Dayton grad, go Flyers. We had such fun getting to the Elite Eight. I was, in a previous life, a high school band director for 5 years, and then we started a family, and I started some home businesses, and life just took over. 9 relocations, 5 states over the course of 15 years. For someone like me who's insanely curious, it definitely gave me a chance to reinvent and reinvent and reinvent, and here I am. Learning, change agent, those are kinds of things that I'm insanely curious about things. And I blog on event innovation. Right now, the trade show and conference industry is going through some snags, some challenges, because as many other industries are getting disrupted, this particular industry is getting a huge disruption. I was a home-based business back in Jersey. If you see that little IBM PC Junior at the top, I actually had my own home computer back in 1984, and I was typing book manuscripts. That's why I left teaching. We started a family. I wanted to do something from home, and then suddenly I had a whole team of moms that were all typing manuscripts, and I was running them back and forth to the publisher, and hence a business was born. I actually created a series of books and tapes called America's Work-at-Home Secrets, which was commissioned by an infomercial marketing company, and we actually did an infomercial in 1993. And that is the picture, but with Allie Mills, our celebrity spokesperson. She was the mom on Wonder Years. So that was my quick 15 minutes of fame. This circuitous path is all these different things I've done, but I've locked in on the event industry very deeply over the past dozen years. First working for Confron and Experian, and now that crazy company with the crazy name, Velvet Chainsaw Consulting. So we're out there consulting with organizers of large trade shows and annual conferences, helping them to improve their events, almost reimagine and reinvent them because the industry has changed in a big way. And that's really where I'm headed today. And I've got to keep an eye on the clock because we're going to move fast. This whole concept, what happened is there's a perfect storm going on. We had two things happen. One was the economy. And so companies were starting to pare back and cut back on their travel budgets, not sending as many people to these events. And the second thing that was happening was technology was ramping up so fast, and people could access content that they typically would go to a conference or trade show for. The two biggest reasons people attend these events is learning and networking. And suddenly we're doing this from our desktops, so we're thinking long and hard, hey, do I need to spend this money, jump on a plane, be out of the office for 3 days? Seth Godin had a quote several years ago that really gets to the heart of this challenge that's going on in the industry, and that is the value. The value proposition of just collecting information is no longer good enough. Conferences and trade shows need to be more interactive, and as he so perfectly put it, people will pay for content if it's so unique they can't get it anywhere else, so fast they benefit from getting it before anyone else, and so related to their tribe that paying for it brings them closer to other people. The nice thing is that this technology revolution and this access to information and people actually is driving need for face-to-face interaction, but it has to be very interactive, it's participatory. It's not a sage on the stage talking for an hour at a general session meeting. Folks will not go for that. So what's going on as far as trade show trends? I kind of pulled a few from a larger deck. The big thing that's happening on the trade show floor is exhibitors are scaling back their footprint, less square footage. The booth is becoming less important, but sponsorships that are connected with strategic topics, thought leadership, with the attendee experience, those are taking off something fierce. So the shift in spend, and so you'll see, in fact, often we'll calculate the health of a trade show looking at all the data, and we maintain that a healthy conference or trade show has at least 50% loyalty, meaning that 50% of the people who attend come at least 2 out of 3 years. We chalk off 1 year where there's my nephew's wedding, or I've got a conflict. But if 50% of your audience is coming back 2 out of 3 years, we see that as a good place to be loyalty-wise. The trade shows and conferences that are struggling, when those figures go down, and not only the number of people, but the quality, the level of people coming, are they decision makers? When that starts to get out of whack, exhibitors start to pull back on their investment in the trade show. And you have to remember, they also enjoy greater access to their buyers, and buyers and sellers are connecting out. This used to be the place to conduct business. It still is. But right now, there was an interesting stat that came out this past year that the typical B2B buyer is 57% on average, typically, through the sales cycle before they ever have a conversation with a sales rep, because they enjoy this greater access to information. So they're shopping on their own, and they're collecting information, and they're getting deep into their short list of contenders before they have conversations. So we're seeing this kind of shift in spend, And when you walk a trade show floor, and often I'll do observations and pull together reports and recommendations, I'm really big on first impressions. And if you have a giant trade show floor, that first impression is powerful. And if you come in and you see these big players and the big 20 by 20, 40 by 40 booths, it's exciting. You feel like it's a good trade show. If you see a bunch of 10 by 10s, it's starting to look like a flea market. And we're starting to see that shift and change. So it's interesting how this is playing out. Okay, well, if we had that down. Exhibitors are finding that their best exchanges often happen away from the trade show floor and directly in these on-site experiences, and this is a wild picture, there are these pods and networking clusters that you're seeing come about on trade show floors and within conferences. And these exhibitors are finding they're having richer conversations and even in learning sessions when they're permitted to attend. So there's this, they're kind of looking at this on-site experience beyond their booth. Oops. And this whole branding piece, if I had more time, I'd peel into it, but this whole concept of branding and really moving beyond a space to the brand. And it's not the company, it's the experience, and you'll see that there's been quite a bit of shift. Data, I want to stop and talk about this a little bit. I mentioned the loyalty. Exhibitors, their demand for ROI on their investment is increasing, and they're being held accountable for the investments that they're making in these shows, and they're not small investments. So at the end of the day, if they're going to spend $20,000, $30,000 on a show, they better be able to show some ROI. Back in the pre-data days, it was fuzzy, we were collecting business cards, then there was lead retrieval, and you were swiping badges. And now, if you're not collecting data and providing good data for your exhibitors, they're doing it on their own. They've got turnkey ways of doing it, so they're kind of checking you. So you might see a prospectus for exhibitors that says 80% of our audience are VP and higher and decision makers, and they're saying, hey, that data doesn't jive with what we're seeing in the traffic that's coming to our booth. Why isn't it matching up? Data is huge. It's allowing conference organizers to increase relevance, really knowing who you're serving. I think the big temptation in this tricky market is when things got tight, a lot of conference organizers said, well, let's target some additional segments. Who else can we reach out to and invite? And what happened is it tends to dilute the experience. So you have this annual event, and what I love about my job is that one week I might be observing, I was at the cardiology annual conference, and that was incredible. I mean, I sat there in a ballroom and watched live surgery from Korea, which I didn't think, my boss was like, you go over there, I'll go over here. I'm like, the live surgery, did I tell you I get a little wheezy at blood? It was fascinating. But these different industry groups, this is their time to get together, so they need to really they have to have defined targets. And if you're targeting too many segments, it just gets fuzzy. People don't feel like they belong anymore. So that whole let's expand, let's widen our net is actually hurting them more than helping them more often than not. These are some of the challenges exhibitors are facing: the rising costs, the drayage, the shipping, all the different hoops they have to hit. And this last piece, the lack of attendee data. How many of you have gone to trade shows or you've registered and then your email box is overwhelmed with emails from exhibitors? Oh my gosh, I actually, it's like whack-a-mole. You're pushing them in the folder and they're not relevant. Attendees are really getting bothered by this, and many now are opting out. I don't want to be on the email list. And then exhibitors are saying, well, wait, that's important to us. So we're trying to help conference organizers to help coach their exhibitors on more effective ways to engage. Getting an email from someone I don't know to tell me to come by booth 128 for my free water bottle is really not relevant, and I'm busy, and don't bug me. I'll come find you. We're moving from this marketing environment, less push, and attendees want to pull in what they want when they want it. So then you want to provide them with good tools to do this. I was just in Minneapolis this weekend at the MPI World Education Conference, and they had gone completely with a mobile app that you'll go to these conferences, as you know, and they'll have program guides that are 1 and 2 inches thick. Now they're scaling back the print and they're putting all the data on their devices. Okay, well, we boomers are going, I'm walking the trade show floor with my iPad, my large print edition, and but it is a really nifty device, but you have to help change behaviors, and you can't just flip a switch and everybody goes from this big fat print program to digital completely. And so we're trying to help ease that change, and typically we would recommend 25% change each cycle, and over time they get more comfortable and they enjoy it. I'm going to move fast through a few of these because I'm really short here. This need for training for exhibitors is huge, and the big message for exhibitors is dial back on the selling and be helpful. Demonstrate your expertise. Engage in conversations. Everyone that's walking a trade show floor does not have an active PO. Everyone that's walking a trade show floor does have problems, many that are keeping them up at night. And so if exhibitors are more problem-centric and connect with that and have empathy and then can help guide attendees on best ways to explore options, that's a richer conversation to have. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of exhibitors that, they're like, hey, and attendees are walking the trade show floor. Sometimes there's this required time where everything else shuts down and the only place they can go is the trade show. And a lot of them, you probably have felt this, where you feel like you got a target on your back, so you keep your eyes down, do not make eye contact, and just go right for the food bar. So, this is a really ridiculous dynamic, so we're helping to kind of move that along and improve that. All right, so we kind of touched a little bit on that. The other thing is extending the event experience. So we're having these connections all year long. And so this one, once and done event, that's not the way of the world today. Things have changed. The game has changed. And this extended experience where the on-site, face-to-face, live exchanges are the crescendo of a series of exchanges that people are having throughout the year, that's the better model. About 70% of our clients are associations, nonprofits, and they have a membership model, and I'll tell you that's getting disrupted in a big way. And when they can provide value and help throughout the year, then the conference becomes the must-attend event. And one way they're doing this, and it's tricky, it's a difficult move, but it's creating private online communities that as you leave a conference, these people can continue those conversations and help each other. And when those start to thrive, there's kind of a back and forth. I did a half-day workshop when I was in Minneapolis, and I actually tested this idea out, because what'll happen is we'll do this training, or I was doing this workshop, and it's like you parachute in, everybody has this awesome experience, and you high-five it, and then everybody jumps on planes, they get back to the office, and they get busy. So I kind of floated out an idea. Look, you're busy, and I'm busy, but I'm willing to schedule some small group follow-up conversations, and I'm going to use Google Hangouts with some video conferencing, and then I'll do some conference calls. But I'm going to, if you're interested, let me know, and I'll send you a message. And I'm telling you, like 70% of the people that were attending were like, count me in, because they will not do anything with this insight likely unless there is that follow-up. And, they've heard these great ideas. They're back in the office. They're starting to think about, how will we apply this? And it's those discussions that really, that's when the rubber meets the road. How am I doing, Tom? Like 2 minutes? All right. This learning opportunities on the trade show floor. So there used to be this sea of booths, and now you're seeing these learning labs and interactive pavilions and demo pavilions, and it's becoming almost like a carnival fair, and that sounds kind of frivolous, but when it's done well and it's purposeful, it's amazing. It's amazing. When it's scattered and, hey, let's throw this here and let's throw that there, it's not good. So it's really being purposeful and defining a theme for the trade show, and then providing what we call bite-sized education on the trade show floor. Have you ever gone to a conference and there's a session and you look in the program and, wow, that looks like a really good session, and then you go into the room, it's an hour-long session or longer, they close the door, the speaker starts for 5 minutes, and you go, I made the wrong choice. And then you sort of try to slip out of the room without distracting anyone. On the trade show floor, they're creating kind of these open-air space theaters where they're doing these mini TED Talks. So 10 and 15-minute talks on a particular topic with open seating, and then a little time, white space between presentations where people can talk to each other, and round tables. And it's just really, it's amazing how these trade shows are transforming and reinventing themselves. And then this concept of pop-up meetings, I'm going to leave you with one thought. So you have this giant trade show and conference, and there's 10,000, 20,000 people. The conference organizer, I mean, the revenue model is largely built on room nights. So what will happen is, you know, the Association of Rocket Scientists will have their meeting in San Diego, and they will contract with hotels in the city, and they will contract room blocks at each of the hotels, and then they'll make those available to their members. They typically get a commission on the rooms that are actualized, and then those revenues help feed the conference machine. When people book outside the block, that creates some financial strain. Suddenly things get a little wacky. When people don't register, and a lot of these conferences, the registration fee is at $1,000 and higher. When they choose not to register, and there's a concept of outboarding, people working the fringe of the event but not actually paying for a badge, and then suitcasing where they paid for the badge but they're kind of reverse working the trade show. When these, what we would call scammers, are ambushing the event, it really does put the financial proposition in jeopardy, and then the people who are investing begin to question, hey, why am I paying all this money when Joe Brown's down in the hotel lobby having one meeting after the next? Now, it's a free world. This is America. You can't big brother, you know, freedom. If they've got access to certain public spaces, they're going to do what they're going to do. But I think the real challenge is making the badged attendee experience so rich that they just have to, they want to be there. So it's creating these clusters and pockets of great conversations and places where people can have pop-up meetings. All right, well, I think I'm typically, the next gen is the big piece. Oh, this reverse hosted buyer. So so another model that is definitely picking up, and it was a model that was at the show I was at this weekend, is hosted buyer. Sponsors and exhibitors pay, they actually pay for the attendees to come. So this particular event were meeting planners. So these people are spending big money on AV, on hotels, so you've got everybody there. They pay the seller is paying the registration. They are often paying their travel, their air, their hotel, and then the attendee agrees that they have to sit down for a certain period of time with these sellers and have conversations. So it's a shaky thing, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It definitely calls the whole general dynamic of the conference in question, because not everybody's a hosted buyer. So you got the special people that got paid. Then it starts to damage the value of the true conference experience, which was the learning and networking that people wanted to do more organically. So all I know is that with the revenue proposition in jeopardy, this has been coming up. Wi-Fi, holy smokes, everybody's looking for that, and charging stations and unusual floor plans. Live stream, often you'll see a general session live, and then people will be able to dial in remotely and watch it. Sometimes that's monetized, sometimes that's looked at as a marketing piece. And next gen, there's a huge, next gen's looking at this thing going, what? Why do I need to be here? They don't get it, because if we stick with the traditional model, it's old, it's weary, it's not delivering. So they're looking for a more engaging and interactive experience. And when that happens, next gen's all over it. They're loving it. And it does unite the generations and really create some tremendous collaboration. So there you have it. And I'll hit the finish line, and thank you.
Questions for Donna?
30 seconds
Donna, slightly different, related topic. Can you tell us what you think about what's being done to make Cleveland a better conference?
Yeah, positively Cleveland, that whole gang is working really hard, and there's tremendous promise with the new convention center, certainly with Cleveland as this medical hub. Medical is a key vertical for us, so I think you're going to see more medical shows. I think that there's some challenges with the number of hotel rooms. So certain size shows, Cleveland is still a tier 2 city. And I think that the United pulling back is going to impact the travel. Certainly that's a consideration for an attendee. If I have to make a connection, how long will it take me to get there, blah, blah, blah. So, But it's promising. We're hopeful, and they're definitely picking up steam.
Thank you for watching our program, and thanks to HCTV for providing us the opportunity to televise our Rotary meetings. Our club meets every Wednesday throughout the year at 7:15 a.m. in Laurel Lakes Community Room. You are most welcome to attend one of our meetings to learn more about our mission. Thank you.